And it is very funny that you talk about how, like, when you first met Metallica, how you were uh, like, you're this very outgoing guy, and it's no secret what your orientation is. And like, how did they respond to you at first? Were they welcoming? Were they like a little hesitant?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, keep in mind, we're all about the same age. If they're 21, 22, I'm 23. Um,
Mhm.
and I didn't look like a record executive. I never looked like a record executive. I would always be running around in jeans and a ripped t-shirt or something like that. Um, the first person, though, I was mostly in contact with was Lars. And
Mhm.
him being, European, I think he was
Right.
open. He like probably met gay people in his life and stuff like that. The other guys, when they first met me, I was mostly drunk a lot. So I would be like, oh my God, I love you guys. And I would hug and kiss them. And they would look at me like, oh, this one's a little nuts. Are you sure he's the guy from Elektra? And backstage at Roseland, Lars was like, yes, everybody, this is Michael Alago from Elektra. We always got along. There was, sexuality has nothing to do with it. I think when mostly all you want to talk about is music, but we always
Right.
had good laughs about everything, whether it was about sexuality, music, or just life in general. But no, there was never any kind of, there was never problems with any of my bands because, I don't know, I'm a cool guy. And like I said, it was always about the music.
Right. Right. And like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying with that. And I mean, with the music also, like, what an album with Metallica to come in on, with like Ride the Lightning, which I assume that was the first Elektra release, right? Since I believe Kill 'Em All came out on Metal Blade. Is that like, and Ride the
No,
Lightning is my
no,
favorite Metallica album.
on Megaforce.
Oh, Megaforce, that's right. I had it confused.
It's okay. Get your shit together. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Rob,
So
you're embarrassing us.
I don't know what. You know what? There's too
I
many
said, come
people
on.
talking. I
I
think
said, come on, Rob, you're embarrassing us.
it's what's happening because all of us are on here. Some of the voices fade in and out, and we overlap. So if
Okay.
I think you asked me about the Ride the Lightning.
Yes.
There's a whole host of there's a whole confluence of things happening in 1984 for me. Just doing my job on an everyday basis, and then this whole love of Metallica and wanting to sign them and get them off of Megaforce. Now, Megaforce was a fantastic, a very creative young label, but they were an independent, and I felt like they couldn't take Metallica to the next level like I could take them to because I worked for a corporation. And it was a cool corporation, Elektra Records. In the 60s and 70s, they had bands like The Doors and the MC5 and the Stooges. So, yes, you asked me about Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. Kill 'Em All, his first album came out on Megaforce. Ride the Lightning was being made as I was trying to, I think, negotiate their deal. So for a minute,
Nice.
it did come out on Megaforce, and then we just picked up both those records, and they were on Elektra. The first
I
full
see.
record I worked on with the band was the third album, Master of Puppets.
I see. And like, and with Master of Puppets, I mean, take nothing away from that as well. Like, that has, maybe, Enter Sandman is obviously their most famous song, but I feel like Master of Puppets is arguably their signature song, where like that's the one people go crazy for every night when they play it live.
Well, keep in mind, for me, the Black Album has nothing to do with the previous records. So when
Right,
you
right.
say Enter Sandman, that was a totally they developed to a place where Bob Rock took them to this big, almost commercial place without losing their integrity, because that album is absolutely brilliant. But Master of Puppets is a totally different animal. It's this thrash record with very accomplished songs. Each record from Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning to Master, everything just kept getting better. The arrangements, the length of the song, just the overall power of the material. So that record, for me, Master of Puppets is their like landmark record. Although another 2 records later, when the Black Album came out, I think in 1990, I mean, that just became such a big breakthrough album for them. But like I said, 2 totally different animals, Master and Black.
And I'm curious, like, do you try to keep up with newer bands now? Is like how is your? I assume you never lose your passion for music, but what about
Absolutely
like discovering
not.
new artists or anything like that?
Sure, that's a good question. I still go out all the time. You could probably find me at St. Vitus Bar in Brooklyn a lot.
Of course.
As a matter of fact, I'll give you a good story. About 2 years ago, my cousin Julie calls me from Florida. She says, Michael, my next door neighbor's son has a band. Well, I've heard that for 30 years. Mostly everybody is rotten. So I said, okay, Julie, just send me the CD. She sends me the CD. It's a totally like self-made, independent record by a band from South Florida called Ether. The record is called There Is Nothing Left for Me Here. It is brutal as fuck. It is very, very heavy. And I heard the record and I thought, this is for me. So I go down to South Florida. I see them. I fall in love with them. They're great, great people, which is also very important. They're smart people. And they were thrilled to meet me, of course. So I said, you know what? If you want a record deal, I'm going to get you a record deal. And I got them a record deal with Century Media Records. The record came out 2 months ago. They are now called Ether Coven. The record is called Everything is Temporary Except Suffering. It was produced by Eric Rattan from Morbid Angel. And so to answer your question, I'm out there. I'm helping people. I still love new music. I still love my old friends when they come to town, like Creator and Voivod. But yes, I'm out there. I listen to new music. I'm very specific and very particular about my likes and my dislikes. But the heavier, the better for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, and Ether Coven is great. I've actually really been digging that record. I didn't realize the involvement there. That's so cool.
Sure.
And also, you were very involved with White Zombie and bringing them to the masses. And it's so like they, to me, were such a pivotal 90s band. Like when I think,
oh, absolutely,
like 90s metal and 90s hard rock, like White Zombie is right up there. And those their singles are just timeless. And so how do you like, and from what I gathered from the documentary, they weren't there yet when you saw that in them. Like how do you know that's in there, and how do you convince musicians who are pretty egotistical that they need to get to this bigger place?
Right. Good question. My friend Daniel Ray, who plays with Ronnie Spector, he was in the Masters of Reality. He wrote for the Ramones. Dear friend of mine of 35 years, 39 years. He was shopping Raging Slab, Circus of Power, and White Zombie. Rob Zombie might tell you a little different, but nobody wanted White Zombie. So Daniel got Raging and Circus signed to RCA. Daniel then said to me, Michael, I don't know what to do with this band. Nobody's saying yes to me. So I said, well, take me to see them. So I went to a little bar. Well, it wasn't even a bar. I went to this little space, which was underneath a restaurant in the East Village on Lafayette Street. And they, like I say in the documentary, and I probably say it in my book that's coming out, they were in the corner in the back in the dark on this little stage, just making a whole racket. And it wasn't even songs. It was just this kind of brilliant noise. No songs whatsoever as far as I could figure out. But I fell in love with them. I loved their energy on stage. I loved the dreadlocks flying all over the place. I loved the sweat. I loved Sean, their bass player. I thought Rob was superb. You know, you can't buy things like charm and charisma. And Rob had all of that in spades, even in the early stages. So, I talked to them after the gig. They probably wound up coming back to my house, and we had frozen white Russians that we used to blend with ice cream in a blender, and we would just sit around talking. And I said to them, I love what you do, but it has to graduate to something else. And, we would play Metallica and Slayer and all these other bands. And Rob, the smart cookie that he is, really understood what I meant by that. So we made a series of demos. They were very good. And I just thought, you know what? I have to take a chance on these people because I think they're going to be huge. So we wound up making the album, Las Exorcista, Devil Music Volume 1, with Andy Wallace. We picked Andy Wallace because whatever the previous Slayer record that came out the year before was, we loved the overall sound of that. The band really got their act together and put together songs. And there you go. You have that brilliant first album.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's good that, he was receptive to it, and obviously it all worked out.
Yes.
And I wanted let's talk about the book. I Am Michael Alago, Breathing Music, Signing Metallica, Beating Death. I can't imagine how much effort it requires to write a book, let alone write a book about your life and kind of deciding what goes in, or like the format, like the just, and then just writing it and committing to doing it. What was the process like for you, and was it a fun process or a challenging one?
I think it was fun. It was challenging. Sometimes it was very frustrating. I have a bit of a scatterbrain, and I don't remember half of my life. So I have no idea why, as a 15-year-old, I started making journals. And I just started writing about everything I did. And those early journals were not poetry or creative writing. It was lists, like taking the B train from Brooklyn to Manhattan, going to see Dead Boys and the Dams for 3 nights at CBGB. And it was lists for many years until it was creative writing or poetry. So when I was asked by Backbeat Books if I wanted to make a book, I just thought, you know what? I love to read. My whole house is filled with books. I should have my own book. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own because I had this horrible scatterbrain. But thank God I had the journals. So I asked an old friend of mine, Laura Davis Channon, if she'd want to help write the book with me. So she said yes. We Skyped most of the time for 2 years. And I read from the journals. Reading from the journals sparked my memory for things that happened that without those journals, there would be no book. She transcribed all that stuff. She'd send it back to me, and I'd say, nah, you're finessing it a little too much, and it doesn't sound like me anymore. It has to be over the top. It has to be gay. It has to be fabulous. It has to just ring and scream like Michael Alago. So we did that a bunch of times. And then when it finally came back to me at some point, the manuscript really sounded exactly like me. And that took about 2.5 years. And, it comes out tomorrow, March 25th, and I'm thrilled.